Welcome back to Exquisitely Aligned. I'm Gina Meyer-Vincent, your host and your personal soul shifter, here to help you define and design the destiny you desire and deserve. Making your bigger impact in the world, essentially you become exactly what the world is missing. And today my guest, Darcy Rogers, has done exactly that. Darcy is the founder of Organic World Language, also known as OWL, the acronym, and began developing the methodology in 2003. Her work is based on second language acquisition research, motivation, I can read, neuroscience, and best teaching practices. She taught Spanish for 16 years in high school and college. I commend you for that. In her time at the high school level, she worked developing and creating schools. Since 2011, she has been presenting at national conferences and working with schools, teachers, and students to implement OWL values, strategies, and techniques internationally. Welcome, Darcy. I'm so happy to have you with me today.
Thank you so much. This is such a treat to be here with you. Thank you for thinking of bringing me on.
You're welcome. So Darcy and we met very quickly in a parking lot, well, at an event, but then got to really have a discussion in the parking lot. And Darcy, what I loved immediately is that you work with languages, because in our family of four, languages are so important to us. We love traveling the world. I love people. I mean, I am a connector through and through. I really enjoy communicating, getting to know why people think a certain way, what they enjoy, etc. And if we don't speak or try, I like to say, because I don't really speak more than one language. I try to speak two other languages that I was taught, but it really opens up opportunities, not only for communicating and traveling and business and just experiences or possibilities, but it also helps our brain. And so there are so many things I want to talk to you about today, but let's start with the beginning. The calling of a teacher is a huge undertaking, in my opinion. And I know that in our country, I feel teachers are undervalued, underpaid. And so first, I want to say thank you for all that you've done, for being that connection, that link for so many students to, and continuing with now the work you're doing on a bigger level. So I really want to commend you for stepping up into that career. And tell us, were you always ready to be a teacher? I mean, do your parents tell you stories of we couldn't get you away from the play chalkboard when you were little, or how did it all begin?
Oh, that's so interesting, because I went to a college that was a teacher college, and it was the one profession that I swore that I was not going to do. Ironically, but life has its way. So I actually started with international business as my first major, and didn't really hit the button for me. And then I went through national studies. Then I did Spanish. I studied abroad. I lived in Ecuador for a year. Ooh. And then came back, and I fell right into teaching, and it has been my calling from then, ever since. There's nothing, even when OWL first got started, I said I wouldn't leave the classroom because it was such my happy place, and everything that I was supposed to be doing in life. So it kind of a fun little journey. And the ironic thing is that now I have an international business.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, it does. It really does. I always think it's fun to look back and just see how things kind of really fell into place. So that I love the full circle. And so when you told family, friends, etc., that you were going into teaching, were they all excited, or were there some people who were like, oh, hey, wait, that's a lot of work and a lot of kids to be responsible for,
Yeah, I think they were pretty excited. They were just proud of me and, wanted to support me in whatever I did. And I think they saw that I had a way with that. And thought it was a good fit. And, I've like you said, I love people. I love kids. I love high school kids, middle school kids, all of elementary. I did college for a couple of years too. So it's just been a really fun, going back to what you said about language. The exciting thing for me is that I was taught Spanish was much from a textbook and very traditional.
Yes.
And my beliefs now are much more around that connection. Language is connection. Language is communication. You're just building relationships. And so when you put it in that lens in a classroom, the sky's the limit. And we just created beautiful spaces of learning and encouragement and support. Yeah. So it really was an amazing thing. And that's what we want to continue to share now. So
yeah, and I love that. So what did that look like? Because I know both my children, Kai and Sonia, went through a K-8 Spanish immersion. It was kindergarten was all Spanish all day long. So my children came home extremely exhausted because it was not something they understood. And but quickly they picked it up. It was amazing to watch. And the teachers were extremely energetic and, very animated with their teaching because they knew half the class didn't understand a word they were saying. But they made it so fun. And I had a totally different experience. I started learning a language in 5th grade. I went to German school on the weekends. That was fun.
Oh, cool.
Not really.
Oh, but the idea is awesome.
And it was on a Saturday. So let me explain. So I had to go to regular school and then German school because my dad's from Germany and we were getting ready to visit family for the summer, and it would be nice if I could speak. But I learned a different dialect than what my dad spoke. So even when I got there, it was like speaking to someone from Boston to Mississippi. And, it was difficult. And also I learned more like from a book than like what you're speaking about. And then what my children experience with the communications and stuff. So was it something that you were were you teaching? Let's start with this. Were you teaching in a public school at the time or private? And then did they have rules and regulations where you had to ask permission for certain things, or could you get it accomplished whichever way, shape, and form was the most fun and exciting for the kids and that worked the best?
Yeah, I worked in 2 different public high schools, and there's a textbook that they provide, and depending on the school you're at, there can be different levels of curriculum that's required. But within that, there's oftentimes liberty as a teacher to have some autonomy to do the things that you want to do, and that's different with every school. However, every teacher has their own way of delivering instruction and connecting with kids, et cetera. And mine really started, I took a group of students to Mexico, and when we were down there, I realized that they were terrified. They would try to talk to people and they just shut down. They'd stay in English. They wouldn't seek opportunities. And I knew that wasn't what I wanted for my kids. And so something in me went, okay, this isn't quite right. Something isn't fitting. And I came back and really focused on, there are now 6 student goals that we base everything with OWL around. And that's what I wanted for my students. That's what I wanted my classroom to look like. So taking risks, making mistakes. Willing to put yourself
out there. Slower. Hold on. I'm writing notes.
I love it.
Because you know what you're giving these 6 apply outside of language. They apply in life. So I just want to make sure, because I want to come back and then talk through them with you. But risk taking,
that's one of them.
Yeah.
And then, so taking risks, being comfortable in immersive environments. So you talked about how your kids were in that kindergarten environment, and it's an uncomfortable space. It's something we're not used to. We don't understand everything. And I want my kids to feel comfortable with that, to lean into that, to go, it's okay to feel frustration. You're going to feel some frustration, and know what? That's okay. That's not a negative feeling. That's going to help you and compel you towards that aha that you're going to get. So the immersive space was a really key factor in all of it. I want them to feel comfortable in that. To be fearless in the immersive space was another one. So that risk taking, that fearlessness, something we have called to infer and circumlocute. So to be able to guess at meaning and then right? So regardless, I might be a level 2 student, a level 1 student, but I don't care. I'm going to engage. I will use what I have. We're going to act it out, draw it out. We're doing charades. We're doing all the things, but we are communicating.
I love it. Yeah.
And then 2 main factors were intrinsic motivation and student ownership.
I love it.
And that base of building relationships and community, which we have talked about.
Yeah. I love all of it. And, those things are very yogic. So I was a yoga instructor for more than a decade and, or still am, but not teaching, just keep my licensing. But, what you're talking about is so fabulous, and it's life-changing for these students. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's not just the language anymore. These are life skills. And I love that, Darcy. See, I knew in the parking lot we needed to talk further. And
there's so many connectors, and it connects so much with what you do. It's that authentic person. And it's also liberating for the teacher, because the teacher is able to be who they are, and that gives students the permission to be who they are. And that's where the learning happens. It's that trust that you build with your students, and the trust that you build in that classroom.
Yeah, that you're creating this safe space. I mean, and it's okay to feel uncomfortable when you're in a safe space. It's definitely heightened when you don't feel you're in a safe space, not seen or heard for who you are, the gifts you have, etc. I don't want to use the word loved, because I know that that's my word, but in the schools now we have this, oh, you can't love the student, but I don't mean it in a romantic way. I mean in a way of
the heart way.
The heart, exactly. Is it just energetic, being authentic, and like you said, giving that space. And you was talking about taking risks and being comfortable in making a mistake. And I teach my children this all the time. And I know I've said it on the show, but I'm going to say it rather quickly. I have a friend on the East Coast who's, I don't remember what generation, but mom, a woman, grandmother, great-grandmother, or great-great-grandmother. Husband was in the petroleum business. She was a school teacher. The chalk was making a mess. She asked him to use something from, the petroleum to make something that would write on the board without all he did. And she went to use it and it didn't come off the chalkboard. But my girlfriend is the heir to Crayola crayons.
That is amazing. See, that's what I was talking about. You never know.
Mistakes are not, we call in our country, we say mistake. Oh, they made a mistake. No, it's what you do with the mistake. Hey, it works beautifully on paper, colored paper, white paper, anything, newspaper. I mean, Crayola, think about that. And that's so incredible. I always, my kids are like, I made a mistake. And I'm like, remember, oh, yes, I know. And I'm not going to use her name for privacy issues. I know, Miss So-and-so, and I'm like, remember Crayola. So never, ever, never, ever think that you make a mistake. Like it just brings so much freedom. When she told me that story, I mean, I knew her history, but I didn't know how it happened. And the other thing you were talking about is it's okay to feel frustrated. How many times in life are there, places where you might not, like this morning when I got on with you and said, Darcy, I cannot find my notes from our pre-meeting. Like, I know I wrote down some fabulous things like the summer camp, that I forgot. But anyway, and then I realized, hey, I knew I liked you when I met you. We had a great couple of conversations in the parking lot over the camera. And now I think maybe I was supposed to lose that sheet of paper today. Maybe it's not a mistake. So I love these things. Tell me, I'm guessing what the parents' reactions are when these kids are learning these 6 goals and moving through them and shifting. But can you share with us like a success story or two? You don't have to share the name, and maybe it's from the parent telling you or you watching the child, because I can only imagine you have like a million stories of confidence building, etc.
Yeah, there's so many. One just general one in that we kind of see as a shift with most places is parents will come and say, they're speaking X language, German, French, Spanish, whatever you teach, right? They're speaking it at home now, or they put their phone in that language, or they're, listening to music now. Like I remember one parent came in for parent night and she said, "Thank you for incorporating music into class. My student is so excited." And I remember we took a group of students to Costa Rica and we were playing music all the time in class, and we went to the movie theater in Costa Rica. And the song came on, and every single one of these little, kids from Oregon are in Costa Rica singing word for word all these songs. So it's those kinds of things. And then also that parents, one other feedback we got was that there was a school where one student was employing these strategies and one student was. So one kid theirs was and one kid wasn't. And they were saying that the one kid who was using these strategies was so much more comfortable if he went out to order or using it with other people or things like that. So there was definitely a huge confidence boost because, like you mentioned, if you can lean into frustration in a safe space, that gives you more courage to do it in an unsafe or a new environment.
Absolutely.
Right? Like one other anecdote is we had, after that initial trip, I took kids back again on other trips. And, they were so afraid the first time and so timid. And this group I took back just a few years later, I had level 1 students that were choosing to do homestays by themselves because they were like, "I don't care, let's go. I want to learn as much as I can." It was just a complete shift in their confidence and their ability. The willingness to fail forward is what we always say.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, oh my gosh. Yeah, I have tears in my eyes because I just, those are the moments where these children know that anything is possible for them.
Yep.
And I think especially after 2020, for even myself, we were out to dinner last night, my husband and I. Mm-hmm. We had a long day at work, each of us independently. Thank God we don't work together. He's not good in my field. I'm terrible in his. So, but we had a long day. We went out to dinner and ended up sitting at the bar top. It was warmer there. It was here in California, right, with the doors open. It was just a little cold, some of the other tables. So I was like, let's just sit over here. We're going to be fast anyway. We're running an errand. And it was a gentleman at the bar, and he was talking about how in 2020, he just became so frustrated in college. He didn't do as well as he needed to in a math class. And so he just quit. Mm-hmm. And now he was saying that he decided to have a conversation with the school. And the person there told him, you only need 9 credits to go to a university. And he thought he was going to have to start from scratch. And I mean, he was a bartender. So he had to be 21 or over. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it was so hard for me. I was struggling with this math. Numbers don't come easily to me. And I just felt like a failure. He goes, but then I realize now, I want more for myself than tending bar. And there are things I want. So these kids having those opportunities to really step into their own at such a young age in such a beautiful way. I think it also, we both said connecting the world. And for me, that means bringing peace. Mm-hmm. When more people can understand why someone does or chooses to live a certain way or does certain things or thinks a certain way, I think we bring such depth. Have you seen that unfold as well?
100%. I mean, first of all, we're building, one of our values is equity and relationships. So we're building that within the classroom. And so you're understanding where your student next to you, your colleague, your peer for students, where they're coming from, because every student has an equal voice. One of the structures that we use for the classroom is a circle. And so within that, you see that the traditional structure is rows and teachers at the front of the classroom. And that also creates a problem with power and hierarchy. And we want to get rid of that. So we want equity between teachers and students as well. So the teacher is in the circle with the students, right? We're
Ah,
all on equal footing. And then
yeah,
students are acting with each other. So wherever
yes,
their backgrounds are, whatever they are, they're constantly pairing and grouping with different students. They're
yeah,
talking, they're learning from each other. Students are becoming teachers of each other. It's
yeah,
a really beautiful structure. And that's, so the understanding starts there in the classroom. And then you
yeah.
bring in perspectives and, products and things from other countries and help them see, oh, okay, I see that's different from me. And that's interesting. That's awesome. I have something to
Yeah.
learn from that. So even
Yeah.
from beginning levels, you can do that in the target language, which is really exciting. So
Yeah. And the circle for me, I'm like in heaven because I'm laughing to myself, Darcy. And afterwards, I'll invite you to this group. Now that you know it's not in a circle, you may not want to come, but do remind me when we finish filming. I want to invite you to something. But I am in a networking group where we meet weekly. And it's a lovely group of high energy, high achieving, impactful people. But we sit in rows and I'm new in the group, so I don't know everybody. And I'm learning, like, I really don't want to see the back of someone's head. Like, I want to see from the front. It's driving me out of my head. So I've tried sitting like sideways to like,
right.
like I sit on the end and then sit sideways. Okay, now I'm getting a profile,
Half size.
I was like, this is so wrong for me. I don't operate in rows. I mean, I love Excel sheets on the computer, but outside of a spreadsheet, my life is not in a row. It should be at a round table where everybody, or on the floor, wherever, but I love the circle. I mean, and I love how you express that we're all teaching others and we're all learning. And that was something I learned as a yoga instructor, even before wearing the name tag, that I read a book and it said, it was a yoga book. It said, if you want to learn more about something, teach it, because your students will ask you questions that even though you're well prepared, you won't know. And then you will learn through them. And my husband came home from work. We had dinner. I had dinner ready, and we had our son at the time, who was very tiny. But I said, I want to become a yoga teacher. He's like, okay, go ahead. I was like, no, I'm serious. He's like, yeah, it only makes sense. Like, you're so passionate about it. It's changed your life. It's changed your world, your way of seeing things. And it was so true. And I love the fact that the teacher is in alignment, sharing, like you said, in that structure, being at the same level. I don't know if you said level, but yeah, yeah.
It really is a game changer. And that was part of the process of developing OWL, was playing with that physical space and recognizing that we can move things around and we're not confined to that. And the minute we made that circle, it was like, things opened up and you just saw the possibilities. And then it allows for more movement and other activities and things like that. And just movement in general, getting into your body, helps with language retention and brings down the affective filter. You're more willing to take risks if you're laughing and playing and having fun with the person next to you. You're building trust, you're building relationships, and your language grows because you're willing to take more risks. You're willing to use more things. You'll try those strategies to communicate no matter what. It really creates a big difference in that space, in the classroom, and relationships.
And I think even beyond that, so movement from yoga, bar, I taught Zumba, paddleboard yoga. We're meant to move. We're not meant to sit still. I know my daughter is going to be 18 next month, which is hard to believe, but she, I read a book once that makes me think of my daughter, but in it, this was before we even knew Sonia, right? Before we adopted her, but it said it was a mother going to a psychiatrist or a psychologist saying something is wrong with my child. And we're talking, I don't know what year, 1930s, 20s, whatever. And the psychiatrist said, she cannot see us through the two-way glass thing. He said, look at your daughter. And she goes, I know, she won't stop spinning. What's wrong with her? He said, she's a dancer. It was Judy Garland behind the glass.
I love that
you
so
know,
much.
and that is my daughter. That is
Uh-huh.
my daughter, constantly spinning. She'll be talking to me and spinning, and I'll be like, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock at night. Please don't spin in front of me. Like, it's cold, it's dark, it's winter. Like, especially when we were on the East Coast where it was really cold. I was like, not at 8 o'clock at night, honey. Please, dance in the hallway and talk to me through the door, like, but I learned I had to say to her, go do cartwheels, go spin, and then, tell me what you know. But she has a lot of energy in her. And I think most children do. And for them to be able to move around and, I think you even mentioned laughing. I learned as a public speaker and teacher that if you can make somebody laugh, they're more likely to remember what you said. Right? Yeah. I mean, all of these things that you're able to bring to the classroom, it's no wonder that you are impacting the world the way you do. I am just so moved by you, Darcy. I really adore everything, because you being able to figure this out so quickly and bring it to the forefront so tremendously in such a big way. I mean, tell me, what are some of the fun things that you're working on?
Well, first of all, I have to give a huge shout out to everybody who's been part of this process.
Oh, please.
It started in the school in Crater. It started in Eagle Point, first of all, and then we really did the really incredible work at Crater. And if you go to our website, there's a whole mention of the team that did that. But it was a 2-year action research project.
Good.
And teachers were meeting once a week, trying things out in their classroom, coming back to talk about what worked and didn't work. We had people transcribing classes. And that really was the birth of OWL. And it was born on curiosity, humility, inquiry. And that is how it got started. So OWL in itself is the community. It's the teachers. It's the students. It's that larger picture of all of us working together to collaborate, to find solutions, share what didn't work, fail forward. It works not only for students, but for teachers, because we need to take risks too.
Yeah.
So that's been the big just joy and benefit of this, is that those connections everywhere in the world and people sharing. And that's how it's grown, is literally through word of mouth. One teacher shares a difference it made for them or their students, and then someone else tries. And that's how this has grown. So it's just a beautiful network of collaboration and sharing. So that's
remind me, because I'm new to California and I know you're here in California, but did that happen here in California, the 2 schools that you mentioned?
That was in Oregon. I just moved here recently in 2020.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So that was in Oregon. Name the 2 schools again. Give a shout out again.
It was Eagle Point High School and then Crater Renaissance Academy, but really Crater High School. We had 4 small schools and the 4 of us worked together. There was also teachers from the Rogue Valley, that general area, that were in other schools also that came on board and helped out. And then it, extended from there, went up into Portland, then into Ohio, then into Massachusetts and Seattle. That's kind of how it first started. And then now it's just spread. So
I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, it's important for people to understand that sometimes we have an idea or a concept in our mind, and then it's like, oh, do we step out of our comfort zone like we were talking about earlier? And I always tell my clients, the thing is this: when you align with who you are exquisitely, the exquisiteness in you, the diamond within, everything else comes, all the people that you need, even if it's money, finances, seed money, investors, the brains of this part, the fingers, the hands that go out and do this part, right? All the teams kind of, the stars and heavens align for you, I guess. And I love knowing that has happened for you and is continuing. So then you were going to go on and tell us some of the things you're working on and how you get it out into the world.
Yeah. What's been really exciting is that since COVID, we were a little worried. We did in-person trainings in schools. And so we weren't sure how that was going to work out. And then I had an incredible team that pivoted. We developed online trainings. We started developing resources. So now coming out of COVID, we're in a really neat place where we have our in-person trainings we've always done. We have our virtual trainings now that we do. We have resources to support teachers now. We're developing district packages. So districts can get contracts for, say, 3 to 8 years. So we're building out more of that pipeline of supporting teachers long-term. We're also extending internationally. We've been international for several years now. So that's been really neat to see just how we continue to grow. So developing both internally and then also externally. And then some of the new things we're working on is that this is not just for languages. This is for all subjects, because everything that you and I are talking about is for math, science. Kids are terrified of math and science, right?
Exactly. Like the gentleman I met, that I just spoke of, I was so happy, that he decided to go back to school, like, okay, hey,
it can always change.
Yes, it does apply to everything. It applies to life. I mean, sorry, I just got.
No, it's exciting. I love it. I think that's exactly it. That's why I think the concepts are just so universal. We're also seeing business applications for team building with businesses, and corporations and teams. That's been a new area we've looked into. So that's exciting to see that happen. Also, adult learning. There are programs that are working in collaboration with several different groups to start doing adult learning classes, which is super exciting. So there's like you said, there's so many real world, real life applications to all of these pieces, which is really exciting. So
and that is that's why I knew you would be a great guest for the show, because I love connecting and bringing forward people who are really changing the world, making big changes, and the shifts that you're bringing for these, I'm going to say, kids and their families, because I know the ripple effect, right? They say in your lifetime, well, they used to say in your lifetime, you will touch 10,000 people. Now, talking internationally, I think it's way more than that. And especially after COVID, and now people more comfortable in front of the camera using Zoom, it really, just someone having the confidence that you've given them, the ability to connect on such a deep level, the ability to get to travel easily and stay in someone's home, like you were saying, it's just, and so from the teachers you help, the principals, it's very exciting. So our time
comes back down to the students. Oh, I'm so sorry. One more thing. Just what you said about the ripple effect seemed to play into our thing as well, that I often hear from students, even from 15, 20 years ago. Hey, here's how I'm using my language today. I moved to Mexico and I live there now. I married a guy from Nicaragua, or whatever it might be, right? And so they're working in a rural community where they're working with different languages with the different populations that are there. So that ripple effect continues for forever, which is really neat. So,
and I think it's, having adopted Sonia from Guatemala, I always felt that it was my responsibility personally to give her the ability to learn Spanish and English, obviously, right? We're living in America. And then she decides on her own time what she wants to do with it. Recently, she said to me, I kind of feel bad that I didn't really take advantage of it the way. And I said, well, you're only 17. You have all your life. I mean, you were fluent, or you were taught to be fluent, and you just decided to kind of squash it, not own it. Now she very much owns her Latina roots. And I said, you still can study in college, but more importantly, like your brother, you can turn your phone into Spanish, and they do listen to Spanish music. I did too, because I was teaching Zumba back then, and still love Spanish music. But it's so, there's so much more we can speak about. So I may have to have you back if time permits, because this really, this topic we could go deeper into so many of the facets and explore more. And I know you're an explorer, so.
Very true. That's how we connect.
Yes, exactly. So there was a reason why we were in the parking lot at the same time. But I do need to let you go shortly. So I'd love for you to share. In the show notes, you'll be able to connect with Darcy. You'll have plenty of ways of connecting, but I'd love for you to now explain some of the things that you have going on, because I know how exciting they are for me, and I have a feeling somebody may want to come join you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the things that we have ongoing are every summer we have something called boot camps. And in our boot camps, it's like a summer camp for adults. We come together and work together for a whole week. So those are always happening every summer. We also offer something called visitation days, and those are ongoing as well. That's on our website as well. And you get to get into a classroom and observe these strategies with students, with teachers. It's a really neat thing. And then virtually, anytime we have things happening all the time virtually online. So hopping in that way as well. So those are 3 great ways to get connected with us. We also work with schools to host workshops. So if you want to bring us to you, then we work with your students, which is really powerful. So some great opportunities to get connected. All our social media channels. We have a Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram. X, I guess now. So
I love it. And I would investigate all of them, because I think that, as you can hear from Darcy's excitement and proven techniques, and they're life-changing. And the thing is, it's no longer really about a language, is it, when you break it down? So I am so glad that you changed your tune from "I never want to be" at your teaching college, that I never wanted to do that, to "here I am," and I am excelling and changing how people are learning around the world. So I'm so glad you found your calling. It's no coincidence that you were at a teaching college, right?
Right. The irony, I love it.
So I'd love to pull a card from the deck of the Opening to Possibilities card deck for you. Let me just shuffle them one more time or 2 more times, and then I'll rifle through them. You tell me when to stop, and I'll read you the card. There's 3 questions. So I'm going to start now.
Stop.
Oh, how funny. Celebrations.
You said before, that's what happens. It happens to be just the perfect thing.
It happens almost every time I pull a card. So of course, this would be the card. Celebrations mark meaningful moments. What occasion? I'm going to read all 3 at the same time. You could answer 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
What occasions do you celebrate? What do you do? How does doing this enrich your life?
This is such a great one, because the entire theme of OWL is celebration in my life. I actually have the word joy tattooed on me in Norwegian.
In Norwegian.
What do I celebrate? Everything. Of course, any kinds of, holidays, whether from this country or sometimes other countries as well. And then birthdays, all the things, really just moments of joy. I think you can find celebration in the tiniest little things every day. So finding one thing every day to celebrate and to be excited about. And then in the long term, just really making people feel special and valued and seen. So whatever, some people have different ways that they want to celebrate things. So I think whether it's they want to be at home and do something chill with the family, or if they want to be out with lots of people or travel. Right. But I think tapping into what it is that makes people feel loved and seen. So I
love it. And I'd rather be out with a bunch of people and traveling. So that's most of the time, that's what I would choose. And that was definitely the right card for you. And I have to say, Darcy, it is no shock to me that you have the word joy tattooed on you in Norwegian, because you exude the word joy. And I'm sure and actually this came up last week as well, Dr. Mitsuru Emoto, who is known for showing how water changes its shape. Where's my children's version? Because that's the best version.
Oh, neat.
So quantum physics, you can see this is a very well-loved book. But Dr. Mitsuru Emoto, he showed, this is the kids version. I used to bring it to my yoga classes because words are so powerful, no matter the language. He took water, exposed it to different words and music, and showed the difference. Give me a minute so I can show you some big pages of how the water responds.
Oh my goodness.
Where's my camera? And because, let's see if I can come closer.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Because we are made up of mostly water. It affects us. So where is, I wanted to show.
While you're looking, that is the perfect metaphor for OWL, because we want to find what is unique about every single student and teacher and build on that.
Yes. This is the word love. I'm going to bring it closer. And the one on this one is you fool. So there's a difference between love on the snowflake looking one and you fool. And so, just to say to you, Darcy, I love everything you're doing. Congratulations. Keep it going. I'd love to have you back so we can discuss deeper some of the things that, how it kind of lends itself. Like we said, exquisitely aligned and OWL are so aligned. And, kudos, because I know it's not always easy stepping into something that is, like you said earlier, to use your words, it being immersed in something uncomfortable, stepping into a new territory. But I am so grateful that you have, and that your team of people have always been around you and supporting you, and that you're making huge strides in the world, because that's exactly what it means to be exquisitely aligned. So thank you for becoming essentially exactly what the world needed.
Thank you so much. It's such a treat to be here. I really appreciate just the connection we have and the work that you're doing and how compatible it is, and that it makes an impact in the world and in others. So
yes. Well, so thank you. So you can find more, please, in the show notes. Reach out to Darcy and check out her website, her socials. It's been delightful to speak with you today. And if you're feeling like an inkling of what Darcy has been speaking about is something possible for you, I'd love to help you explore that deeper. And we can connect on a discovery call. That information will be below as well. Till next time, be exquisite.